Well, good evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I tell you guys, we are in for an awesome treat on tonight. If you missed 2 weeks ago with our live broadcast, you're going to enjoy tonight. We have a very special family on with us tonight, a phenomenal couple. Not only are they phenomenal, but they family.
Yes. Real family.
Yes.
And so that just like icing the cake for us. And you guys are just going to be so full from all of the nuggets and the insight and revelation that they bring to the blended family and to families just period, to life in general. I mean, they're just so chock full of knowledge and information and wisdom. And so I know I poured on thick, but
I was gonna say, who are those people? We're happy to be here. Thank you for having us back.
Yes, I mean we're excited. I mean we've just been like ready for this day 2 weeks ago, and so we're glad to have you guys back with us. And so, baby, introduce them.
So tonight we have with you guys my brother Roy and my sister-in-law Cynthia. We call her Sin. So she's affectionately known as Sin. C-Y-N, not S-I-N. So Roy and I actually are like real family. I know we call a lot of people family, but this is actually my brother. So we are just going to go ahead and jump right on in, and we'll let them tell you more about themselves. They're going to do a little recap of last week in case some of you guys missed it. So they're going to start off by just sharing a little bit about themselves, what they do, who they are, how they met, and go from there.
Well, I'll start. I'm Roy. I'm Madeline's brother. I'm married to this beautiful young lady right here. She's been my life partner for over 27 years. We share two beautiful children, and we both work in the healthcare field in the different aspects of taking care of people. Myself, I've been in the mental health field since 2003, which is about 19, a little bit over 19 years. I've worked in different capacities with families, physically, emotionally, children. I've worked with veterans. I've worked with incarcerated youth, and I've also worked with incarcerated adults in all different capacities. And as of right now, I'm working with my favorite population, which is the homeless veteran population, keeping them employed and also providing them with mental health services.
So I'm Cynthia, and I am an HR manager for higher institution / medical system here in Maryland. And my job is really all things HR, providing leadership, consultation, management in the area of orthopedics. So I hire surgeons, postdocs, students, staff, you name it, I hire it under the umbrella of orthopedics.
So for those that don't know what orthopedics is, give us a little information.
So orthopedics are the surgeons that if you break an arm or a leg or you need a hip replacement, they are the people that you may go to if you're having problems with your back, your joints, kind of your muscular skeletal system. That's what orthopedics, they do that.
So as you guys can see, we got some folks that know a little something with us tonight.
Just a little. Just a little.
And so, but listen, they know a lot about relationship. They know a lot about marriage and family. And so that's the reason why we wanted them to join us on this week. Well, actually, the last two episodes.
Right.
We've been trying to listen. I'm gonna let the cat out the bag. We've been trying to get them since 4 years now. Finally tracked them down, finally tied them down, but they're super, super busy, as you can clearly see by what they do and their responsibilities. And so we're just excited that they were able to carve out some time for us. And so we're going to jump right into this, cuz.
Sure.
Yeah, and before we go like into the questions, Roy, if you can like just shed a little bit on what mental health is, or mental health issues, because some people, have a clear understanding of it and then some really don't. So
Mhm.
can you just give us just a bit of a breakdown on mental health?
Mental health basically is pretty much anything that disrupts the normal function of a human being. Um, Disrupting the normal function would be like they lack social cues. They have a mental disability that prevents them from performing at a normal level. They also perform at a different level. They also view the world in a different way than from what we see it. And so there's all different aspects. Some parts of mental health is influenced by the environment that they live in, that they grow up in. That could be also cause to change a person's function. So, for example, if you've been raised in an abusive situation or there's violence around, that can promote all different types of mental disabilities because you're forced to perform survival to be a survival versus being a producer. So there's many different aspects of mental health. Mental health is very deep.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
something that we will have to later on down the line kind of get you guys back just to discuss
Yeah,
that. Um,
because usually mental health awareness kind of sort of month is like what, like May,
I think
I
so.
think so, something like that.
something like that.
yeah,
Okay,
Mhm.
so keep that open for us,
No
please. So
problem.
we can
Will do.
really break it down and give people, a
mhm.
full understanding of what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty, so let's jump on into questions now.
Okay,
I
so
know, right? I'm sweating a little bit here.
it's all good. It's all good.
good.
Because we had so many questions for you guys. But I wanted to start off with family meetings.
Sure.
And I wanted to know, do you guys have family meetings? And if so, how often?
I'll start and then I'll let Cynthia finish. Family meetings was very important when we were in the childbearing phase. We always met all the time, because things were changing with the children. But once they went out to college, we kind of like got away from that for like 4 years because they wasn't immediately in their house. And then when they came home, we tried not to pressure them with meetings because the home was a safe haven from college to where they came and they relaxed and did their own things. And also, it was the beginning of respecting them as adults. They were adults. They were becoming independent. So we pretty much, didn't want to like impose anything on them. But now they're grown adults. So now we don't really meet, but we do have huddles. Huddles is what I call them
Mhm.
versus meeting. It's like more of now. Sin and I are advisors. We're no more raising. So now it's more of do you want to know our opinion?
Uh,
You know, so we pretty much give you the option now because you're an adult, and we respect that. Sometimes I'll say for me, I do regress and still think that I'm in a fatherly role, but they'll let me know that they're adults. So we got that, but that's the difference as far as the meetings are concerned.
I say we have more informal than formalized meetings. I never wanted them to be a situation where they felt like they were in trouble. It really was, opportunity to have discussion, safe space for discussion. So if those discussions were centered around, responsibilities or chores that hadn't been met, so be it. But also too, sometimes it was about what was going on, current events. And so I say not necessarily meetings. He's right, more huddles. Sometimes it was at the dinner table. because that's where we were able to get people to sit down and put their phones away. Other times it just happened to be over conversations in the car if there's something going on, or, there was something we wanted to discuss or wanted to get their feedback. And Roy is right. Now we have meetings, but still informally. And he is correct in that we are reminding ourselves that we are in advisory roles, whether we want to be or not. And so now it's more of, do you want to know what we think, or do you want us to just listen? Because they know both of us are going to tell it like it is. So, we usually start there, what do you think, with do you want to know what we really think, or would you prefer for us to just listen?
I like that because I haven't graduated there yet.
It definitely takes work, Brandon. And, listen, Roy and I are not perfect at this by any means. We're still growing and learning in this role as well. The one thing that I say, and he and I say consistently, is that, we are confident that we have given both of our kids the tools they need to be successful. We have given them the opportunity, the exposure, the education. And so, we have faith in God, and in them that they're going to make right decisions. So when they sit down and say, this is what's going on in my life, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to be, yes, now you're saying, what would you like to hear from us? Do you want us to just listen to what you have to say, or do you want us to tell us our opinion? And then there are instances where we give our opinion whether you want it or not, because we have something to say. But for the most part,
that's where I'm at. It's like I'm looking at Roy, and I love the beard, man. I love it. But I had to cut mine off because every time I look at him, I think when I look at the young adults, I always go back to babies. And it's like I always feel this protective mode on me. And so I said, man, listen, I got to do some changing.
Well, Brandon, the protective factor is never going to leave you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the first one to tell you that. I am a full-fledged protector over my kids. I protect them to the fullest. Sometimes I get a joking thing from my daughter because we have a security system around the house. There's sometimes, like for me, because of the military, I can get up at almost the drop of a hat from a deep sleep, and I'll grab my iPod and light up the cameras and see somebody going outside, and then she'll say something smart like, why you be watching me, or you was watching me. It's no problem. I just laugh it off and just keep it going, because that's just the protector in me as far as them. And then maybe one day they will understand it, So the protective factor for me has never gone away for them.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I feel like, even though they're adults, and I do have confidence and faith in them, I try to remember what it was like for me when I was their age, yes. Right? And I remember, the times that, oh my gosh, like I got this. And then so I recognize that, part of growing up is making mistakes and making your own mistakes, owning those mistakes, and then learning how to move on from them. So even if I can see what's coming, I do try to say, this is what I think. Sometimes Roy and I, we nod our heads, go in the bedroom and close the door. And be like, what's going to happen, right? We're like, yeah, we know what's going to happen. We just be here, to advise when it's over. But this is something that we are learning to do. It is not something that we are perfect at. We are better at it, I think, than when they first graduated from college. But that comes from, continuing to work at it. Sometimes getting it wrong and have to be reminded, I'm an adult. I can do this. Thank you very much.
No, I love it. I love it. Because I was going to ask you, but you had already touched on it, about the safe space. Because a lot of times, and that was something that I had to learn, is to provide a safe space, especially when they're growing up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's a little easier to give it to them when they become adults or young adults. But growing up, it's important, it's imperative that they have that safe space where they can come to you and can discuss whatever needs to be discussed without feeling
Any repercussions?
any repercussions behind what they have to say or express.
I agree with that, Brandon. I really do. And I think, I know in my role at work, we say that you're going to get constant feedback, right? And so in order to be better, you have to be willing to have that feedback. Sometimes the feedback comes from your kids, and they have to be able to say, listen, if they can't speak to the people who love them to say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I need, this is how you made me feel, how are they ever going to do that with people outside? Right. And so if you're trying to grow healthy adults who are able to speak up for themselves and to, take a stance, you have to be able to allow for that. You have to be able to allow for them to be able to talk to you about things that may even be difficult for you to have. And in our instance, because we were in Massachusetts with no other family, it was really just the four of us. We really had to figure that out quick and had to encourage them to feel comfortable enough to tell us when there's an issue, even if the issue was with one of us, right? And then as adults have to model the behavior that we expect from them by being able to receive that, even if we don't like it, right? To be able to receive that and then try to find a way to move forward.
I agree with that. And I think that just providing a safe space, period, I think that it should be in just any type of relationship, whether
Sure.
it's sisters, brothers,
Mm-hmm.
siblings, mother,
Mm-hmm.
mother, daughter, mother, son, father,
Yes.
whichever. Because I think sometimes as adults, a lot of people at times don't share stuff, or even like when they're going through things, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you don't share stuff because you feel like if you say something, the person may get upset or they're going to be mad or whatever. So I think that a lot of times we hold a lot of stuff in and don't want to say it because you either want to protect their feelings or protect the relationship. But
Sure.
if we set up that safe space in all relationships that we have, I think that we would get past a lot of issues and problems and things that may be at hand.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think you're absolutely right. That can be in any relationship, but I think it's especially important, like I said, when you're trying to raise healthy adults.
Yes. Yes.
What role? I mean, because it's apparent that you guys are grateful for everything that you've experienced and been able to accomplish. But what role does gratefulness play in the success of your marriage, your family, and your children?
I think it plays a really big role. I mean, it's so easy to focus on the negative. It's so easy to focus on what you don't have. It's so easy to, especially with social media, right? To look to see what other people have and say, I wish, or maybe the grass is greener. And I think a lot of it stems from faith. Learning to be grateful and learning to say thank you. But I think some of it too is growth, right? I mean, I look back on growing up and there were so many things and opportunities. I'm like, gosh, I'm really blessed to be able to have this opportunity where I listened to Roy and, things were different for him growing up. And so I think learning to be grateful is a part of learning to appreciate, and I think it is, learning to, I'm a glasses half full kind of girl. So, gratefulness to me is really on a daily basis, like finding the silver lining, and it's easy to do that when everything's going great. When things are a little bit tougher, you know, intentionally saying, okay, what was the silver lining? What did I learn today? What did I get today? What did I know I'm not going to do tomorrow? How did I get through the day? And I think that really is a part of it. And then teaching, your family members and your children how to do that. I think leans a lot to being grateful. Did I miss anything?
The one thing that Sydney and I are blessed with is that we come from two different dynamics, two different backgrounds. Whereas, I tease her sometimes, she grew up in the suburb, two-parent family. She never went to public school. She went from private school to pre-K, straight to college, you know what I'm saying? Those type of kids are groomed to be that. Whereas me, I come from the other side. I had no examples, no roles. You know what I mean? I had two parents who wasn't as educated. The opportunities wasn't plentiful. As for me, after trying to find my way, once I graduated from high school, because I graduated at the age of 17, I decided to go into the military. So I used the military as a way to get an edge on life. Once I got outside of my immediate environment, I found out that there's a whole different world out there. So I was exposed to a lot of things growing up. But now that I have my own children that I share with somebody who's different from me, they get to see both sides. You know what I mean? I'm nowhere near as what I was when I was young, but I have an eye for that negative side. I know what that other side is. And although kids want to do things on their own, I can paint that picture for them. So you know what I mean? When I used to take them back home when they were younger, they could pretty much well see that, and then I could point out to them that's the result of the environment or the decision that person made. This is where this person is at, and I tell them sometimes, where the kids are or where my fellow high school friends are, where they are because of the decisions they made. And then I let them know that I made different decisions. So just because you come from that, don't mean you have to remain that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that I told them. So and they get the dynamic from both, and then they see where Cindy went with the different route. But in the end, we both ended up on the same platform. We both received higher level education, but we came from two different backgrounds, and we didn't allow our environment to dictate to where we are. You know what I mean? Like Sin and I are totally different. As for me, I never thought that I would marry the educated woman, highly successful. I didn't think that. You know what I mean? I was used to the girls around the what I was used to. So when I met her, she was like totally different.
So what you're saying is you were grateful for me, huh? That's what I heard. Is that what y'all heard? That's what
I heard all that.
Yes, I was grateful, but it was a totally different world. I had to learn. It's like a totally different world. It's like a completely foreign to me. When we used to do things, and I used to go with her to her family functions, it was all different and new to me because I wasn't used to that. You know what I mean? And like I said, I didn't have a female friend or I didn't have a woman that would be my friend. You know what I mean? It was about whatever, and I kept it moving. But with her, we became friends. So I learned what it was to have a female friend. And that's the thing that holds us together for 27 years. Cindy and I are friends. We talk about any and everything. I remember at the beginning when we were dating, we would talk and fall asleep on the phone, and her and I still talk like that to the day. We can talk like our daughters say sometimes. Geez, you guys are in the same house. Like I'll go to the basement to my office and to the man cave, and she'll be upstairs, and we'll still be texting each other. And the kids are like, so,
what's left to talk about after 27 years?
It's more to talk about.
Sure.
More to talk about. So that's the special dynamic that we have. We come from two different environments, two different backgrounds, two different paths, but we both ended up in the same way, and we both took different directions to get there. So they get the opportunity to see that. So that's a blessing for them.
Now let me ask you guys this, because when we had you on the last time, I heard something. It was kind of funny to me, and I wanted to know where you guys were on this. So when are you guys going to write this book?
The book is like it's time consuming because Cindy and I, there's so many other things that we do that we just don't.
Maybe when we retire.
Maybe when we retire, but right now we're living our best life. We're doing things. We always got something to do, and We just don't have that time. So the downtime that we do get, we value it. We spend time with each other. That's the way we shut the world down and we become private. And it's about me and her. You know, the kids are on their way to living on their own. It's just me and her. So that's what we focus on. We focus on her and I. We don't, you know.
One day one day we will co-author a book, but probably close
to make sure that I heard what I heard and I wasn't wrong on it.
Yeah.
You know, because you guys, I mean, everybody has a story.
Yeah.
But understanding the two separate backgrounds and how they intersected.
Yeah.
So almost effortlessly.
Yeah.
You know, almost like seamlessly.
Yeah.
And it produced such an awesome product.
Yeah. It was not effortless. It was not effortless, but I will say, you know, that you know, in the Bible it says that, you know, the things that are meant for you are yours, right? It's always going to be yours. God knows what He has planned for you. Yeah. And so I do believe, you know, Roy and I met at the time that we were supposed to. We always talk about, oh, do you think we still be together if we met in high school? And we're like, I don't know. But definitely at the time that we were meant to, and what was going on in our lives that led us together, you know, it's ordained. So I say that jokingly, but not really jokingly, if that makes any sense.
And you know, like people say something about Cynthia and I have two different religious beliefs. We practice two different religions. Me, when I was young, my family promoted me to be baptized in the Baptist. When I became an adult, I went to the military. I took the Shahada and I became an Orthodox Muslim. So I still practice Islam. She's still a Baptist, but we still respect each other's religions. She has been very open to that. She's been open to learning. She asked me questions. Even my kids, we're open to that. And we all have respect for that. They respect my religious beliefs and I respect theirs. So I've taught my kids things about the religion, you know, because all the noise is negative, but I speak to, you know, I give them the truth about Islam. I give my wife the truth about Islam, even the misconceptions misconception about marriage. I've opened up, you know, Surah 4, Al-Nisa, where it talks about marrying more than one woman and what is the Islamic law surrounding that and the misconceptions that the public will promote. So I told her the truth about that and I showed it to her. So, you know, that's another thing that we have, you know, and in our house. And we've given our children the option of, when it comes to religion, that's a personal journey with yourself. So I don't try to impose Islam on them and she don't try to impose being a Baptist on them. We let them be what they want to be because they're adults. And even when they were young, we still let them be what they wanted to be. You know what I mean? Justin was, what is that? He had it when he was a baby. When the water on him, I forgot.
He was christened.
All right, Justin was christened.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Okay, yeah, Justin. I had a senior moment.
I was like, what are you talking about?
So Justin was Christian, whereas me, what I wanted was when Aaliyah was born, is you say the Shahada in her ear. I did that with her because I was in the room when she was delivered. Once they cut the cord, I picked her up, and and I said the Shahada in her ear, and I did it in Arabic. That's what you do with a baby in Islam when they're born. You say the Shahada in her ear. So that's the difference. She was open to that. She wasn't closed to that. You know what I mean? I mean, we gave her it's an Islamic name, but I never I never went to Cynthia and said, "Oh, she's going to be a mother." No, I didn't do that. But Cynthia was amendable to me doing the Shahada and we sat down, we bought a name book and we gave her an Islamic name. But far as her taking the Shahada and becoming Muslim, that's up to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even Justin is the same way.
Yeah, I think we've always told them in the areas of faith that it's deeply personal and it is your walk with God, even from they were very, very small. What we did was provide the information and our beliefs and try to make sure they had a strong sense of what's right and wrong and understanding both in all. And then, doing what they felt that they believe is best for them. And I strongly, that may not be something that a lot of people agree with, but I do think that is a deeply personal choice, and that it, I could impose it, but it would not have the same impact of them learning and walking their journey with God themselves and making those decisions themselves.
And that's one of the things that I've always applauded about you guys. And we never really sat down and had a lot of conversations on this, but I think it's so important that we model the message.
Absolutely.
And you guys have definitely modeled the message. Too many times as parents or as leaders, you want to impose a way on someone, but you don't model that way.
Sure.
And so I applaud you guys because you have modeled the message. Whatever the message has been, you've modeled it and then given them the opportunity to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they make a choice based upon the model that they've seen.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that's why I wanted you guys on here.
I will say that's not conventional. I mean, I'm sure that there's people on my side of the family who I grew up in the church with a mom who was a deacon. And so, this is far from, Roy and I are the new kids, right? Like we do it like the old school way, right? But I've always said, and I continue to believe this, and I say this to my friends who are raising younger children and young adults, if you don't teach them how to make choices for themselves at a young age, they will consistently be looking for someone else to do that for them.
Yep.
Right. And so it's not easy as parents. I mean, even the smallest things on what are you taking for lunch? Allowing them to really kind of think about that and make a choice makes it easier to problem solve and make choices and decisions and live with those decisions as they grow up. And so, I always wanted to do that. It wasn't because I grew up like that. I mean, even Roy and I always joke about me going to private school, but when it came time to make that decision, my mom was like, so you're going here, or you're going here. And all of it was the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, I always wanted to make sure that I at least presented my kids when they grew up an opportunity to make a choice, an educated choice.
Ooh, man.
Wow.
So let me ask you this. You guys talked about your the last time you talked about your transition from Maryland to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
What role has vision played in your family? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate vision?
So you're talking vision back then, or you're talking vision now?
I'm talking about in its totality.
With the whole thing?
The whole thing.
When we left here over 20 some odd years ago, the intention was to go there, stay 3 years, and come back. But when we got there, God had another plan, So we adjusted to the plan over time. Even though the God wanted us to stay longer, we wanted to come back earlier. But God would always put an opportunity in the way to say, oh, we can't go back because of this. And then Cynthia and I had this thing that once the kids got to high school, we wasn't going to change it. So we knew once Justin reached the 9th grade, we were stuck there for 4 more years. We knew that. So, and then when we were looking for the college thing, they wanted to come to school down here, but they got accepted in Massachusetts. And I told Cynthia, I'm not leaving my babies
He sure did.
up there by themselves. So, Justin, he didn't go to school close to us. He went to the next state in Connecticut. He went to a school that was closer to the end of Connecticut, closer to upstate New York, which is about 2 hours away. She is different. She's mama's baby. She stayed near mommy, and she went 30 minutes away. So it was different. Then You know, I got the education bug. So I went back to school. So I went to school, and then Cynthia went back, and we did our education thing, and then we all got in the mix. So we're all doing four different educational institutions pursuing our high level education. So we got caught with that. So the vision changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The vision was to just go there 3 years, but God had other things, and we had to adjust to those things.
Mm-hmm.
We had to adjust to those things as a family. What was more important? Yeah, they were 18, 19-year-olds, but they were still kids. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then at that time, I was pursuing my first master's, which was in counseling psychology. I started learning about the behaviors, the dynamic. I started learning about the brain. The human brain it takes 25 years to develop. So a child is still in the developmental stage when they're 18, 17, 18 years old. They're still developing. They're still in this phase where they're also in the identity phase. They're still trying to figure out, who am I? That's when they start really, because when they go to college, that's when you experiment, because for the first time, you're on your own. I didn't want to leave them there. And then all the horror stories that I knew about as a parent, I wasn't gonna be there. But it also gave Cynthia and I a time to adjust to me and her, because we had did full blast 18 years. It was all about them. We did everything with them. I mean, I was a complete parent. We did AAU tournaments, dance recitals, parent
cheerleading,
everything, and we were committed to it. But when the kids going, it was like a relief. So when the kids left, I was a little sad for a little bit, and then I told Cindy, I said, "You know what? Let's get up out of here." And that's when we drove to Canada, to Niagara Falls, and then after that, we just kept.
It was
going.
on.
It was on after that. You know, so.
I agree. I think, going to Massachusetts, the vision initially was, let's go take care of this and try to see if we can do this and make this change and make it work for us. And then consistently having to revisit what the vision looked like. What does success look like for us? What is the short-term vision here? What's long-term, and then trying to decide together, what is that going to look like? And then trying to figure out, based on whatever change was to that vision, what the next steps are going to be. And so I agree with what Roy said, that it was a consistently changing thing, and really having to be nimble enough to change with whatever the circumstance was in order to make it work.
And I love that, because most times people don't understand that vision is evolutionary.
Yep.
It evolves, it changes, it expands, it grows, because you can only see but so far.
Right.
The rest is faith, Brandon.
Yeah.
It is completely faith. You are so right.
It's like being on 95. You're going to only see but so far on 95, but 95 goes a long
way.
And so the further you go down that road, the more you begin to see, the more things begin to change. And that's kind of like what you guys experience. Okay, we're going here. But then we get here, now we see this.
Yeah.
And now we do this, we do that.
In full transparency, like the vision wasn't always the same to both of us at the same time. Like Roy had things that he was trying to do. I had things I was trying to do. And it was, it's like you said about 95, exit comes up, right? Are we getting off this exit, or are we going to keep going until, the next two exits where there's the bathroom? And that really was our journey in Massachusetts, really having to think about what is it that we were trying to do? Who were the people we were growing into? What does it require to get to whatever the next step was? So yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you can only see but so far, and the rest is really faith.
To touch on that a little bit, did you guys ever experience, I'm not going to say fear, but did it ever feel strange in those times as the vision began to change?
Well, here's something that a lot of people, and we're just starting to really understand that. When you prepare to be successful, be prepared to fail. And everything that Cynthia and I have done, we have engaged adversity.
Yeah, it never goes as planned.
It never goes as planned.
I mean, we're the type of people that if it wasn't for bad luck, sometimes we would have absolutely none.
Yeah.
But what we have learned to do, and you're right, you are absolutely right, Roy. Like we are probably two of the best planners you guys have ever met. I mean, I'm talking lists and post-it notes and lists on the phone and calendar invites. And man, when I tell you guys that, I keep trying to tell you guys, you can't plan this thing because I'm going to do my thing. And so we finally, are realizing, okay, we're going to do the best we can and kind of roll with it. But yeah, he is absolutely 100% correct. Not necessarily failure, but absolutely lessons learned and absolutely like learning how to roll with the punches.
And with vision, I know that you said like both of you guys' vision wasn't the same all the time at the same time, right?
Mhm.
So what did you guys do to bring those visions together? What steps did you take to like what you had, your vision was, and what Roy's vision was? What did you guys do to bring that together?
So you got to know how to lead and you got to know how to follow. Sometimes you're the leader and sometimes you're the follower. We went to Massachusetts because Roy had an opportunity in boxing. I said, okay. I told you all last week I was on my Ruth and Boaz. I was like, okay, where you go? I'm going with you. Grab these babies and we're going to go. Right. And so, honestly, moving to Massachusetts to follow my husband and his opportunity. And then, for example, when it was time to come home, I remember saying to him, like, it's time. Like, we got to go. And he was like, okay, we got to go.
But when it was time to come back, we no longer found those things that we found when we wanted to come back. When it was time to come back, her and I had a conversation. And we said to each other, there's nothing else that we can accomplish here. God has given us everything. Now it's time to go back. Mm-hmm. Because every time we tried to go back before that, something would happen that would keep us there. Mm-hmm. And that something would make us better. It would bring us closer. It would make us stronger. But when that last thing ran out, there was time for us to go. I mean, even though we came back here before the kids, like we came back. Well, first I came back by myself. Then she came back 30 days later, which was hard for me. And then the kids came back 3 months later. So we all had our different things to finish off what we had to finish off to come back. But the thing about it is that that's just how it played out.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, when you're growing, you don't always grow at the same time. Like Roy and I talk about this all the time. When you're growing as a person and trying to discover who you are, it's not always parallel. Like sometimes this person's here, sometimes this person's here, and really having to understand that. And then understand what it is that they're trying to do and where it's trying to go. And when you're in a marriage, well, I can't speak for everybody, but I can say, my version of marriage is, trying to understand where it is he's trying to go. And then how can I support you? Because when he wins, we all win, right? When I win, we all win. So even if the vision is not necessarily completely aligned, giving some grace, but also understanding that, okay, this is my time to follow versus this is my time to lead.
And then one thing also in marriage is that you got to support each other's growth. So, you grow together, even though sometimes you grow at different times. Like when I met her, and I'll admit it, she was far ahead of me. She had already did the college thing. Me, I just did the high school thing. But we focused on the other things. Like the strength was we both had an immense love for children, both of us. We talk about raising children all the time. But at that time, boxing was my journey. She supported me. But when boxing was over, I supported her because she wanted to pursue her career and her education. And then I wanted to go back and I wanted to take my education a little higher because of the things that I wanted to do. So at that time, we supported each other's vision and support. So that way, that allowed us to grow simultaneously. In a marriage, you have to continue to grow. Sometimes in marriage, one person will outgrow the other, but Cynthia and I, we was determined to grow together. That means we were going to keep accomplishing things together, doing things together. And then, it got to a point where I told her, I said, "Oh, I got 2 masters. I'm good. I'm good. I make enough money. I'm good." You know what I mean? So, she went and she got an advanced graduate degree towards a PhD. That's good. I'm good with that. You know what I mean? I'm good with that. You know what I mean? She can do her thing. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm comfortable. But I supported her because that's what she wanted. That's what she wanted to do. So, in a relationship, you got to support the growth and you got to be always involved with the growth. You can't be afraid or thinking like, oh, who does she think she's trying to be or who he think. You can't do that. In a marriage, you got to support each other. You got to support the growth because when you support the growth, you become a part of the growth.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see the importance of you being in the growth because you are a part of it. You take yourself out of the equation when you say, oh, who do they think they are? Or you become envious or jealous. You take yourself out of that. But when you include yourself by giving them what they need, which is the support, you become a part of the growth. And, when Cindy and I said, just like she just said, when we all win, when one win, we all win.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So now her and I are to the point where we pick and choose where we want to go in our career, which is, I'm going to be honest with you, which is sometimes difficult for African Americans in corporate America. But we changed the we changed the scenario by having things that have put us on we're never going to be an equal playing field, but we make a little bit more stronger for us to remain there. So that's what it is. But you got to support your spouse's journey. You got to support your kids' journey. Give them what they need. It's not about you. And I could have easily did that because I married someone who was highly successful, but I didn't. I supported her, and by me supporting her, I ended up getting the same thing. We grew together.
And I love what you said when you said when you support the growth, you become a part of the growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And a lot of times couples don't understand that. In supporting each other, you are the direct beneficiary of whatever that person gets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whatever that person experiences, you become the beneficiary of it. The benefactor. And so it's so important, man, that when your spouse has a vision, become a part of that vision.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a vision, become a part of their vision and see how you both can benefit from that. Not looking at who's the more successful, who's the more educated, who makes the most money. Because guess what? When the money comes in the house, it's in the house.
It is. You are absolutely 100% correct. I have a quote in my office, and it says that both faith and fear demand, that you do things that you can't see the end of. You can't see the end game, and then you have to choose. It's the same thing when you're talking about vision and growth. You don't always know how it's going to end, but if you are committed to, your spouse or your children or the people in your relationships being successful and committed to their success, supporting them in whatever way that looks like for you, you absolutely become a part of that success. And then it allows you to grow too, even if that isn't what you're actually aiming for.
I love it. I love
That's
it.
good.
I heard a guy say this years ago. He said, when you get inside another man's vision, when he gets down the road, what you don't understand is you get down the road.
Mm-hmm.
As a family, when you get inside of that vision, whatever it may be, whichever one is handling the steering wheel at that particular time, if you just ride with them, guess what? We all getting down the road.
Yeah.
We all, and there's some things you don't necessarily have to put a lot of effort in because that person knows where they're going. And even if they don't know where they're going, guess what? You got so many things like GPS and all this other stuff.
Agreed.
You got so many tools nowadays that can assist you on getting where you want to go. Just trust the process. Just the process, and I love it. You got anything you wanted to ask me?
Keep going. Okay, let me ask you guys this one.
Okay.
Okay, so since you guys been married, what experiences have you gone through that you can identify that has brought you to where you are now?
What experiences have we gone through that's kind of brought us to where we are now?
One or two.
Yeah.
So I think definitely moving away to like 5 states away, really forced us to depend on ourselves and each other. It actually minimized family in our marriage. So I think that brought us to where we are now, where there wasn't the outside noise that it may have been if we were in Maryland, because we had to lean on each other because there was nobody else there. We couldn't say, "Oh, can so and so go pick up the babies?" because we was so and so. That was it. And so I think in a lot of instances that made us as strong as we are now. Because we had no choice but to rely on each other. We had to work it out. If we wasn't getting along, we had to figure it out because it was just us. So I think that is one. Do you have one?
I have to agree with you. I mean, moving away was the best thing. You know what I mean? I mean, we missed our family, especially on the weekends when we wanted to like reach out to family. And then, up until Justin became 12, I wasn't particular with leaving them with anybody. I mean, we had this one babysitter, and she brought this guy over. And after that, we said, no more. I said, no more babysitters. She brought this guy over to our house, and without asking. So that was it. We shut it down.
I'm trying to think any other.
So just being with the 4 of us. I mean, that was a blessing for us. I mean, it helped all of us.
Yeah, I think that honestly was like one of the strongest foundations that we had to build was that. So if I had to say that, you said 1 or 2, but I think that's the biggest one. And I think that is probably the foundation of our marriage is, learning, being in a situation where you have to depend on the other person. Like that's not just your person, but you have to depend on that person. And when we left from Massachusetts, we were still practically newlyweds, and we were kids. Moving 5 states away, couldn't tell us nothing. Like, we got this. And, very quickly got up there and it was like, well, maybe there were some things we forgot to think about, and having to figure that out. And listen, we were not always successful at that. It took work. It took many conversations, like, how are we going to do this, and how are we going to figure this out? And it's just us. So how do we do that? So I think that's probably, I'm trying to think if there's anyone, but that's probably the biggest one.
Because going to another state is like going to another country, because the language is different. Massachusetts is a totally different world from here. You're dealing with two different worlds. That's I can simplify it. Massachusetts, I can't. People always ask me all the time, "How was it?" Yeah, you have to go there because it's totally different.
Yeah, your car break down in Massachusetts, and one of those snowstorms hit, you got a problem, right? And
so the snow stops nothing. I remember we was up there for like 2 weeks, and we got hit with like a 12, 13-inch snowstorm. And we look outside, everybody's moving like it's nothing, like it's just another day. The snow stops nothing. You learn how to travel. You learn how to get around. So everybody in this house can move around in the snow. We're like used to it. You know what I mean? The snow stops nothing. That's when we had to adjust. We had to adjust to that.
So what was your first snow experience like?
Oh my gosh. Let me see. He was right. I think the first snowstorm was like 12 to like 13 inches.
Yeah.
We had 2 small kids. And I remember it snowed. I think we shoveled, and then it snowed again. And so Justin was really small. He was outside playing in the snow. It was his first really big snow. And then it like snowed a couple days later. And then a couple days later, I think he was over it. He was over the snow by then.
And then when we first moved up there, we didn't have a car. So I would walk them to daycare every morning. So what happened was the snowstorm came. So I had to walk all the way about a half a mile to downtown to get them and bring both of them back in a snowstorm because she was at work. So I got Justin, who at the time I think was 3, I think, and Aaliyah was like about 15 months or maybe a little, not quite 2 years old. So she was in the stroller. I had broke the wheel off the stroller. So I had to push that stroller in about 7 foot of snow, and it was coming down blinded. And I had him too, who could barely walk. So I had to bring him back. You know, we would stop and we would get in these little indentions inside of apartments buildings. Let the snow let up a little bit, and the wind was blowing, and I got him home. That was an adjustment for me. We had no car. My kids need to get home, and then in Massachusetts, the snow doesn't stop anything.
Yeah, we got a car real quick after that. We got on some act right real fast after that. That one time we were like, okay, we need to fix this. And that's what I mean when I say, you know, like learning really how to make things happen and just being able to depend just on the two of us. We got stories for days. Some we will absolutely share, and people wouldn't believe it if they knew it. And others, it's a thank you, Jesus. Let's move on moment.
Every winter, I would say to Madeline, I wonder how they doing this.
I wonder how we do it too, Brandon. Honestly, like it, you know, Massachusetts was a great launching pad for us. And, you know, their school system was good. Our kids got really good educations, but I feel like we missed, you know, them, you know, having access to extended members of the family. And so we more than make up for that. When summers, we would send them to stay with family and things like that. And so certainly being very, very grateful. And the move home was just as eventful as the move up there, you know, and that's what I mean when I say, you know, Roy and I are really good planners. We really are. We are really good planners. We set the goal, and then we, you know, kind of move through the tasks that we need to get things done. And it never fails. God's like, yeah, I got something for you. Let me show you, let me flex a little bit in this situation just to make sure y'all still believing. Like I said, you need to believe. And, you know, the stories that we tell people about how it was to go up there and then come back are always very interesting, but it is a true test of faith in each other and in him.
Wow.
Listen, guys,
someone did put a note in there too that they definitely want to hear more about the mental illness and mental health. So we may not even wait until May.
Yeah, we'll
work on that to get that in, especially like post, I guess the pandemic. I guess we kind of, I guess, coming towards the end or still whatever. And, you know, a lot of people have dealt with a lot of different things. So I think it's a very important topic to discuss. So
sure, absolutely.
You know.
Yep.
Where we can go further in and just focus just totally on that.
We can do that.
And too, we're gonna talk about this HR thing because folks need some employment.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Oh, you know, now you're talking my language, Brandon. I would love to have a meeting talking about that. That's one of the things I really like to do is, you know, to help people get set up for success, to find joy in the work that they love. Because when you love work, it isn't work. You know what I mean? Like those are the days when, you know, it could be a hard day, but you really love what you do so much that it isn't work. I'm happy to come back and talk about that.
And, you know, because a lot of people don't know how to get a good job. They don't know what to do, how to set themselves up for it. And I think that you will bring such insight to that to be able to assist people just with whatever you bring. Sure. I know it's going to be a lot, but you know what I'm saying?
I'd be happy to.
People just needed it. So we're going to get you guys back on.
Yeah, send me y'all's schedule.
Yeah, definitely.
Please. Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. And I hope that, you know, something that we shared rang true for, you know, some blended family out there. You know, I would say to those who are not sure, you know, keep the faith, keep pushing on, trust the process. All of those things are accurate.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's been a blessing to have you guys on here.
Yeah.
You just shared so much as relates to family, blended family success, trials, education, you name it, you guys covered it. And what I love about it is it still shows success.
Yes.
Yeah.
After all that we've gone through, we still have joy.
Absolutely.
A lot of people can't say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it. And hugs and kisses to y'all.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank
Bye-bye.
you all so much.
We
Well,
love
listen,
you.
wait a minute.
And so we want to thank everyone for tuning in on tonight. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to know anything more about Roy and Cynthia before they're back on again, so you can send us an email to weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. And our website is intheblenderministries.com. Also, you can catch this replay anytime during the week. We have on Facebook Live. We're also on YouTube. You can also catch it on SoundCloud, Stitcher, all of the social media outlets. I forget them all, but if you just type in the blender, you'll definitely find it there. And we just want to thank you guys again for joining us and speaking to the blended families and other families and all those that tuned in. And we love you guys. And until next time, good night, everyone.